Hello, everybody. We're really happy to welcome you here in Jerusalem, this holy city, and especially right here by the Western Wall Plaza. This is a joint venture between Fellowship International and Amiel Tours, and we would like you to show you this unique place here in Jerusalem. Please feel free later on to share the link with family and friends, and we'll be very happy to welcome you in the near future. So this is the Western Wall Plaza, and right now we're looking at the Western Wall, or the Wailing Wall, as some people choose to call it. Basically, it's not a wall from the temple itself, because the temple itself was completely destroyed by the Romans in the 9th day of the Hebrew month Av, in the year 70 AD. So the wall you're looking at was built by King Herod the Great about 2,000 years ago around the temple. Okay, the temple was on the other side of the wall, destroyed completely, as I said, by Titus, the Roman general, in the year 70 AD. And this is the only holy remnant that is still standing from that period of time. Okay, and now this is only a small section of the wall. What you're looking at is about 65 yards. But the length of the wall is about 500 yards, or 488 meters to be precise. And why the west? And I must say that other walls are standing as well. On that direction would be the southern wall, there's the eastern wall, and the northern wall. So think about a box of shoes upside down, and in the middle of it would be the peak of the mountain, Mount Moriah, and on top of it, two temples were built. The first one was built by King Solomon about 3,000 years ago. It was David, his father, that bought that piece of land from the Jebusite owner, a guy named Ornah the Jebusite. He used it as a threshing floor. David bought it, and it was his son Solomon that built the first temple. That first temple was destroyed also in the same date according to the Jewish calendar, 9th of Av, 586 BC. Okay? The Jews were exiled to Babylon, came back during the Persian period, some 70 years later, and raised the second temple. Okay? That temple was totally modest and not with the glory that the first temple looked like during the time of King Solomon. So when King Herod became the king some 400 years later, he's actually renovating that whole area once again. And what you're looking at right now is the wall that was built by King Herod the Great about 2,000 years ago. Why this area was chosen by David to be the spiritual center of the people of Israel? I mean, about a few hundred yards to the south is the city of David. This is a hill that David conquered from the Jebusite, and he used a lot of violence and as an act of war. But for some reason, he could easily tell this farmer, or not the Jebusite, to leave that area and force him to do so. But it looks like he wanted to do it in a very clean way, in a legal way, without using any kind of bloodshed. So he's actually bought this piece of land, Mount Moriah, and as I said, Solomon, his son, would build the temple. But why David chose it? The Jewish tradition said that when God is testing Abraham, as described in Genesis 22, he's telling Abraham, take your son, your only son, whom you loved, Isaac, and offer him to me. And this mountain, as I said, this peak of a mountain on the other side of the wall is where Abraham would build an altar and was about to sacrifice his own son. And this moment would be the moment that God signed kind of a covenant with the people of Israel. He's telling Abraham, after he saw that he's really willing to sacrifice his son in the sake of faith in the Lord, he said, from now on, this land will be to your seeds, and that's the covenant we're talking about. So David is actually using it to be the spiritual center of the people of Israel. Next to the capital, he took from the Jebusite and turned it to the city of David, which would be biblical Jerusalem. Okay? For 2,000 years, we didn't have the really access to the temple, and only during the Ottoman period we were allowed to get close to the wall and pray there. Why the Western Wall and not one of the other walls? Well, at the temple itself, when the temple was standing, at the west side of the building, there was one room which our sources are calling it the Holy of Holies. In that special room, we kept the Ark of the Covenant with the Ten Commandments inside, and that was as close as we can imagine to the Western Wall. So if you're coming and praying by the Western Wall, you are standing as close as you can be to the presence of the divine. So that is why the Western Wall was always a holy site after the destruction of the temple in the year 70. We can see, if we take the camera to the right, we can see the end of the Western Wall. It's actually behind the bridge, and that's where the southern walls begin. Okay? So that's all together is about 130 meters, and the rest of it is actually hidden under the Muslim quarter. About 700 years ago, a Muslim dynasty called the Mamluks came and rest their neighborhoods against the wall. They actually built arches, and on top of these arches, they built their homes. Today, the only way we can see the rest of the Western Wall is by walking through a tunnel that was open to the public in 1996. This would be the area to enter the Western Wall tunnels, and it would take us all the way to the end of the Western Wall where the Anatolia Fortress stood. Just to remind you, the Anatolia Fortress would be the place which the New Testament is calling the Praetorium, and it is the place where Jesus was standing in front of the Roman governor in trial. Okay? What the Catholics are calling the first station of the cross. Okay? So to see that, we will have to go through the tunnel. About the wall itself, I must say that only the first 7 layers of stones from ground level, if you count seven layers, these are the original stones from the time of King Herod. In other words, these 7 layers are 2,000 years old, and the rest is a reconstruction that was done when the Muslims came to Jerusalem. And then the very small building blocks at the top, that dates already to the Ottoman period, about 300 years ago. They raised it again. Because when the Romans conquered Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, they tried to destroy also the walls around it. Otherwise, you would see those large blocks reaching all the way to the top. Okay. Now we're getting ready to the high holidays, and that's why you see a lot of action. These screens that were built all around us today, it's for safety reason or security reason, because your Minister of Foreign Affairs just visited the Western Wall, and just to give him some privacy, they build those screens around. Otherwise, this plaza can hold about 200,000 people in the high holidays. Okay. Yeah, please follow me to, and we get close to the wall. On a typical Friday evening, when Jews are coming to welcome the Sabbath, this whole area will be packed with people. Okay? And as I said, right now, people are getting ready for the high holidays, and there's a lot of activity preparing the area to receive thousands of people here during the New Year's Eve of the Jewish holiday, and also the Day of Atonement, what we call Yom Kippur. Since this area is managed by the Orthodox Jews, so the Western Wall Plaza is actually divided between men and women. The Orthodox will not allow men and women to practice their prayers together. So behind the partition over there would be the women's section, and this is the men's section, which is much larger. There's another thing we can see at the building blocks. Around each stone, which dates back to the time of King Herod, there's like a margin, which is very typical to King Herod. So in every project he constructed 2,000 years ago, for some reason he liked this architectural design, and we can see that, as I said, only on the first 7 layers. Okay. After 7 layers, it's already stones that were raised up by the Muslim when they decided to make Mount Moriah a holy site for the Muslims as well. Okay? They believe, according to their tradition, that Muhammad, their prophet, had a night journey some 1400 years ago, and he reached a place which the Quran, their Bible, is mentioning as Al-Aqsa, and from Al-Aqsa he was raised to heaven. So that's why today Temple Mount is held by the Muslim. Israel basically took over East Jerusalem during the 6 Days War in June 1967, and in order to keep the peace between Jews and Muslims, they allowed the Muslim to control the Temple Mount. And as far as religious affairs, as far as security, it is still held by Israel. And if we'll visit the Temple Mount Plaza, we could see that the security people there are Israelis, either soldiers, either police, Israeli police. You can see that the construction on the western wall is what we call dry construction. In other words, there is no cement or any mortar that holds the stones still standing, and it's much deeper. If you look at the ground level, you can see that there is another block at the bottom, and it's still going down another 6 blocks. Engineers basically decided not to dig deep enough, just for security or safety reason. They were afraid that the pressure coming from the other side of the mountain maybe will shake the wall, and that's as far as we can go. But here and there are kinds of shafts that we can look down and see that the walls is actually going all the way down to the bedrock. When Herod is building the wall, he's actually trying to rest the wall on a solid rock, and that's why he went all the way down. Okay. Okay, so
Can we do some questions from the audience? I have a question here that is, are Christians allowed to come pray at the Western Wall?
Oh yes, absolutely. Actually, in the book of Isaiah, prophet Isaiah is saying in chapter 56 that the house of prayer should be open for all nations. And actually, when you come here, nobody asks you who you are, what is your faith, where you came from. It is open for all nations. You can see here Muslims, you can see here Christians, you can see here Hindus. Everyone that believes that there is God up in heaven is welcome to come and pray and ask for God's provision. Now, in between the blocks, you can see a lot of notes. These are prayer notes. One of the notes there was put by Marco Rubio not too long ago. And you can basically ask God whatever you wish for. If you sick, if you want to have a match, if you want $1 million in the lottery, everything goes. Once in a while, when the wall is full of these prayer notes, they will clean it up, put it in containers, and will bury it in a Jewish cemetery in the Mount of Olives. Because the Jewish tradition said if you mention the name of God in a note, in a prayer, we're not going to dump it in the garbage, because this is something between you and God, and the Jewish tradition is actually respecting this custom. Now this started hundreds of years ago, when traveling was not so easy, especially Jews that were living in the diaspora in Europe, and when they decided to make once-in-a-lifetime journey to Jerusalem, people would give them a note and would say, please put it on that wall where they believe that the presence of God is still there. Okay, so that's why you see this so many notes in the wall. These are all kind of prayers.
Okay, I have another question here.
Yes.
Why do the Muslims consider the Temple Mount to be sacred?
Okay. As I said, in the Quran, in chapter 17, it says that Muhammad, their prophet, made a night journey from Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and he ended in a place which they call Al-Aqsa. Now, Al-Aqsa means the edge, which means the edge of the wall. It's like we say in Hebrew, Katzeh, Al-Aqsa. It's also almost the same root of the word. And their tradition is saying that this is Al-Aqsa, and from here, Muhammad rose to heaven. So they build a mosque, and they build the Dome of the Rock, which is a monument commemorating this event mentioned in the Bible. I must say that there's a lot of debates if Temple Mount is really Al-Aqsa, because there are some Muslims believe that Al-Aqsa is somewhere else, somewhere in Iraq, and it's depend which sect among Islam you're asking. But I must say that today it's more of a political argument, and that's the story. Matter of fact, according to the guy who wrote the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, he died in 632 AD, and basically Islam came to Jerusalem only 6 years later. In other words, Muhammad was not here, but it's a matter of faith, and of course we cannot argue in what people believe in.
I have another question. This is more of a personal one.
Yes.
Do you like to come and pray at the Western Wall?
Yes, I often come here. I don't know, when you come here in special days according to the Jewish calendar, you really feel some electricity in the air. I don't know how to describe it, but you feel something very, very special. Plus, this plaza is actually unites all the Jews. You can be an Orthodox Jew, you can be a conservative, you can be a Reform, you can be secular. Here is a place that everybody unites, and we feel that we belong to one big family, and that we are just a link in the chain of our forefathers. So you come here, you get a very special feeling.
Awesome. And then I think last question.
Yes.
In your opinion, is it safe to come to Israel right now?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Look, I must tell you something. When you watch TV and when you read the newspaper back home, they will never say that the sun is shining and the birds are singing. Okay, these are not news, right? They will tell you, oh no, there's a shooting there, and there was something happening over there, but there's nothing happening. Honest to God, there's nothing happening right now in Jerusalem. It's completely safe. You can cross the street in New York City and something will happen to you. Yes, there's still issues in Gaza Strip, but it's so far away. There were issues with the Iranian, and they're so far away. And you can see people are coming. They feel completely relaxed and comfortable. So honestly, you can feel completely safe coming here, and I really welcome to come and see this beautiful country. It's really where everything started. So I encourage you to come. Goodbye now. I wish you all the best and hope to see you very soon here in Jerusalem. My name is Avi Cohen. I'm guiding already for the last 25 years, and I'll be happy to show you the Holy Land. God bless you and all the best.